The great council chamber stretched across 3 kilometers of polished obsidian, hovering above the molten core of Centrum Prime. 200 species sat in their designated sectors, watching as Ambassador Sarah Chun stood alone at the center platform. The human looked small beneath the towering holographic displays showing Earth's blue marble suspended in accusation. Archon Vexthal, a crystalline being whose body refracted light into painful rainbows, spoke with a voice that echoed through translation matrices. Humanity, you have been summoned to answer for your transgression. Sarah kept her face neutral. 3 months ago, a human survey ship had discovered Kepler 442b, a garden world rich with presentient life. They had established a research outpost. Standard procedure. But the VRYNN collective claimed ancient territorial rights based on a survey conducted 12,000 years prior. We followed galactic law, Sarah said calmly. No active settlements existed. No markers. No claims filed in the current epoch. A VRYNN diplomat, resembling a serpent made of liquid mercury, hissed from its elevated chamber. Primitive species do not understand the weight of history. Your kind has been in space for merely 300 years. We have sailed between stars for 50 millennia. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The cauldron chittered. The Solon hummed in harmonic disapproval. The Turthan delegates, massive beings of living stone, rumbled their displeasure. Sarah noticed the pattern. Every species present had existed in space for thousands of years, some for millions. Humanity was the infant at the adult table, and they were tired of pretending otherwise. The Council recognizes the VRYNN claim, Archon Vexthal declared. Humanity will evacuate Kepler 442b within 30 standard cycles. Furthermore, this body votes on Resolution 7749, the restriction of human expansion. Sarah's blood went cold. Restriction. Your species multiplies too quickly. You consume resources at alarming rates. You ask too many questions. You adapt too fast. Vexthal's crystalline face betrayed no emotion. It makes the elder races uncomfortable. The vote took seconds. Of 200 species, 197 voted yes. 2 abstained. Only the Zafrani, a peaceful race of floating jellyfish-like beings, voted no. Humanity is hereby confined to your current 12 colony worlds, Vexthal announced. Any expansion beyond these territories will be considered an act of aggression against the galactic community. Your trade routes will be monitored. Your communications intercepted. Your military vessels restricted to defensive operations within your own borders. Sarah wanted to scream, to rage, to flip the platform and storm out. But she was a professional. The people of Earth will be informed of this decision. We will comply with the Council's judgment. The lie tasted bitter but necessary. She walked out of the chamber with her head high, even as she heard the satisfied clicking and humming of species celebrating humanity's leash. They had done this before, she realized. The Council wasn't a democracy. It was a mechanism for control, keeping younger species in their place while the ancient ones hoarded the galaxy's riches. The doors sealed behind her with a hiss of finality. Sarah stood in the empty corridor, her hands shaking. She activated her quantum communicator, speaking the words she had been authorized to use only in worst-case scenarios. Phoenix Protocol. Activate Phoenix Protocol. 30 light-years away, on a moon of Jupiter hidden beneath Europa's ice, something stirred. Machines that had been sleeping for decades began to wake. Factories that officially didn't exist started their production lines. And in the deepest bunkers of Mars, generals opened sealed orders they had hoped never to read. Back on Earth, in a bunker beneath Geneva, Fleet Admiral Marcus Stone received Sarah's encrypted message. He was a man carved from granite, with gray hair and eyes that had seen 3 wars. He read the message twice, then looked at the other members of the Shadow Council. They did it, he said quietly. They caged us. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, humanity's chief xenobiologist, removed her glasses. What's the timeline? 30 days to evacuate Kepler. After that, they'll enforce the quarantine. Stone pulled up a holographic map of human space. 12 colonies, spread across 40 light-years. 15 billion people. They think they've contained us. Have they? Asked General Okonkwo, his Nigerian accent thick with tension. Stone smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. They've made a fundamental miscalculation. They think we're like them, static, slow to change, comfortable. They don't understand what happens when you corner a human. He pressed a button. Across human space, sleeper ships changed course. Hidden shipyards accelerated production. And on every human world, militias began to quietly mobilize. They wanted to keep us in a cage, Stone said. Let's show them what happens when the cage breaks. The council had declared humanity unwelcome. Within weeks, their colonies would start going dark. But not in the way the aliens expected. The first colony to go dark was New Vancouver, a mining world orbiting a red dwarf 32 light-years from Earth. The Turthan monitoring station registered the anomaly at 0400 station time. Junior Monitor Kreshtal, his stone-like body hunched over sensor arrays, noticed the communication blackout first. New Vancouver's quantum beacon, a signal that should have been constant, simply stopped. Supervisor, he rumbled, his voice like grinding rocks. We have lost telemetry from Human Colony 773. Supervisor Garmoth lumbered over, each footstep causing minor tremors. Communications failure? Negative. All signals ceased simultaneously. Power signatures, communications, navigation beacons, everything went dark in the same microsecond. Garmoth felt something he hadn't experienced in his 3,000-year lifespan. Unease. Dispatch a probe. The probe reached New Vancouver 6 hours later. What it found made no sense. The colony was gone. Not destroyed. Not abandoned. Gone. The domed cities that had housed 2 million humans had been systematically dismantled. Every structure, every ship, every piece of equipment removed. The mining facilities were stripped to bedrock. Even the orbital stations had vanished. The only thing remaining was a single beacon, transmitting one message in every known language. We choose our own path. Garmoth immediately reported to the council. Within hours, 3 more colonies went dark using the same pattern. Silent. Total. Impossible to track. The human populations simply vanished, taking everything with them. Archon Vexthal convened an emergency session. The chamber buzzed with confusion and, beneath it, fear. This is clearly a violation of the quarantine, hissed the VR1 and diplomat. They're evacuating toward unknown space. Impossible, countered a Caldrith admiral, her insectoid features clicking rapidly. We have monitoring stations covering every vector. Nothing has passed our sensor nets. No fleet movement. No quantum signatures. Nothing. Sarah Chen stood once more at the center platform. She looked tired but defiant. Where are your people going? Demanded Vexthal. Away from those who would imprison them, Sarah replied simply. You cannot hide billions of humans. We will find them. Sarah smiled. You're welcome to try, but you should understand something. You made us choose between submission and survival. Humans don't do well with ultimatums. A Solan diplomat, a being of pure energy contained in a magnetic field, pulsed with agitation. The council demands answers. This behavior is unacceptable. What's unacceptable? Sarah said, her voice hardening. Is that 200 advanced species decided to lock one away because they were afraid of competition. You wanted us docile, controllable. We tried coexistence. You chose domination. You will tell us where your colonies are relocating, or we will consider this an act of war, Vexthal stated. Sarah's eyes flashed. You already declared war when you caged us. This is just us choosing not to fight it on your terms. Another colony went dark during the session. Then another. The pattern was clear. Humanity was evacuating every world within council-monitored space. But the question remained, where were they going? 3 weeks after the evacuation began, a VR-YNN hunter fleet arrived at New Lagos, humanity's agricultural hub. They were determined to prevent this colony's disappearance and capture humans for interrogation. What they found was a trap. The colony appeared normal as they approached. Cities gleamed. Ships moved in standard orbital patterns. Communications chatter filled the channels. But as the VRYNN fleet entered high orbit, everything changed. The ships were drones. The cities were holographic projections. And the defensive platforms that had supposedly been decommissioned per council mandate were very, very active. Magnetic acceleration cannons, weapons the VRYNN had never seen humans use, tore through shields designed to stop plasma and lasers. Kinetic projectiles moving at fractional light speed punched through hulls like paper. The VRYNN fleet's advanced energy weapons found no targets, only empty space where projections had been. In 18 minutes, a fleet of 30 VRYNN warships was reduced to debris. One ship escaped, its captain broadcasting a desperate message. They lied about everything: their technology, their capabilities, their nature. They're not primitives. The transmission cut off as a human fighter intercepted it. The ship was unlike anything in council databases: angular, predatory, built for speed and violence. The pilot's voice came through on all council frequencies. Young, female, American accent. Message to the Galactic Council: stay away from our worlds. What happens next is on you. The fighter vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving only debris and questions. Across the galaxy, the elder races realized they had made a catastrophic error. They hadn't caged a primitive species. They had cornered an apex predator. And now humanity was hunting in the dark between the stars, using tactics and technologies the Council couldn't comprehend. The humans weren't fleeing. They were repositioning. The war hadn't started yet, but everyone could feel it coming. The Council's response was predictable. They sent the Armada. 30 species contributed ships, creating a fleet of 5,000 vessels, the largest military force assembled in galactic history. Their mission was simple: find the human colonies, force them back into compliance, and demonstrate the price of defiance. They called it Operation Correction. Humans would call it the beginning of their legend. The Armada was commanded by War Master Thex Nor, a Solon considered the greatest military mind in 1,000 generations. He had ended rebellions, crushed pirates, and enforced council law across 100 sectors. Humanity, he believed, would be his easiest campaign. He was wrong on every level. The Armada's first target was the last known coordinates of the colony ship convoy from New Vancouver. According to their projections, the human ships, slower than council vessels, should have only reached the outer veil, a region of sparse stars 40 light-years beyond charted space. What they found instead was a battlefield. 50 Turthan patrol ships floated dead in space, their crews evacuated but their vessels systematically disabled. On each hull, painted in letters 10 meters high, was a message in Turthan script: turn back while you can. War Master Thex Nor's energy form pulsed with anger. Analysis. His tactical officer, a Caldrith named Zixtal, examined the wrecks. Weapons signatures are confusing. The damage suggests quantum disruption torpedoes, but humans don't have that technology. The precision indicates AI-guided systems far beyond their known capabilities. And the power requirements would need reactors 3 times larger than anything we've seen in their fleet. Could they have stolen Council technology? Negative, War Master. These signatures don't match anything in our databases. This is something new. Thex Nor made his decision. We proceed. Deploy scout wings. Standard search pattern. Find these humans and end this farce. The scout wings spread out across 3 light-years, state-of-the-art vessels equipped with sensors that could detect a single ship's heat signature from 10 million kilometers. They found nothing for 6 days. On the 7th day, they found everything. The human fleet appeared on sensors simultaneously across every vector, surrounding the Armada completely. 5,000 Council ships faced what looked like 50,000 human vessels. Thex Nor knew immediately it was impossible. How? Where did they build? 70% are decoys, Zixtal interrupted, mandibles clicking frantically. Drones, projections, sensor ghosts. But the rest? He paused, his voice uncertain. The rest are real. At least 15,000 genuine warships. The mathematics was impossible. 3 months ago, humanity had possessed perhaps 300 military vessels. Building 15,000 ships would require shipyards, resources, and time they simply didn't have. Unless they had been preparing for much longer than anyone knew. A communication channel opened. Admiral Stone's face appeared on every council ship's display. He looked older than his file photos, with new scars crossing his face. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship buzzed with activity. "War Master Thex Nor," Stone said calmly. "You're trespassing in human space." Human space? Thex Nor's form pulsed with outrage. "The Council has declared no such territory. You are in unclaimed. We're claiming it now. Every star system within 50 light-years of this position is under human protection. Leave or learn why that matters. You cannot possibly defend such a volume of space. You're outnumbered and outmatched." Stone smiled. "Are we? Tell me, War Master, how many ships do you think we really have out here? Your sensors are good, but they're designed to find ships using technology you understand. Fusion drives, plasma reactors, quantum beacons. What happens when a species decides to build vessels using completely different principles?" On Thex Nor's tactical display, the number of real ships kept climbing. 20,000. 25,000. The sensors couldn't differentiate anymore. Everything was becoming uncertain. "You're bluffing," Thex Nor declared. "There's one way to find out," Stone replied. "Give the order to attack. But understand this, every species in your fleet is here because they thought bullying humanity would be easy. Make them understand it's not. Make them pay for that mistake in blood and wreckage. Or, and I'm only offering this once, turn your fleet around and go home. The Council will never accept. The Council declared us unwelcome in their space." Stone interrupted, his voice hardening. "So we left. Now you're in ours. Your choice, War Master. Peace or annihilation. You have 10 minutes to decide." The channel closed. Thex Nor looked at his fleet. 5,000 ships representing 30 species, each captain waiting for orders. He had fought 100 battles and never retreated. But he had also never felt this particular sensation before. Doubt. Because Admiral Stone hadn't looked like a man who was bluffing. He looked like a man who had already won and was offering mercy only out of courtesy. The timer counted down. 10 minutes to change the galaxy forever. War Master Thex Nor gave the order to attack. It was the last order he ever gave. The human fleet moved first, accelerating with impossible speed. The ships didn't use conventional drives. Instead, they seemed to fold space around themselves, appearing at point-blank range before the Council formation could react. The weapons they unleashed were nightmares made real. Kinetic kill vehicles traveling at 90% light speed tore through shields that had been designed to stop energy weapons. Railguns firing projectiles wrapped in temporary stasis fields phased through armor before exploding inside enemy hulls. And something new, quantum disruption mines that severed a ship's connection to its own power core, leaving vessels dead and drifting in microseconds. The Caldrith destroyer Wings of Triumph broke in half before its captain could even order evasive maneuvers. The Turthan Dreadnought Mountain's Fury, considered unsinkable due to its living stone hull, found that stone could still shatter when hit with enough focused force. The VRYNN carrier Eternal Serpent watched its entire fighter wing get deleted by a defensive laser grid that moved faster than thought. But Thex Nor wasn't a war master for nothing. He rallied his forces, organizing them into defensive clusters, using combined shields to protect the more vulnerable ships. The Council's superior numbers began to tell. For every human ship destroyed, they took down 3 enemy vessels. Then the humans adapted. The battle had been raging for 20 minutes when the Council fleet noticed their quantum communications were being jammed. Not blocked, that would be obvious. Instead, every order was arriving 3 seconds delayed, just enough to make coordinated maneuvers impossible. "They're inside our network," Zixtal reported in horror. "They're not jamming us. They're editing our communications in real time." Ships received orders to turn left and went right. Fire patterns became chaotic. The careful formations Thex Nor had organized collapsed into confusion. And through it all, the human fleet moved with perfect coordination, their vessels operating as a single organism. A Solon science vessel on the fleet's edge managed to scan one of the human command ships before being destroyed. What its sensors recorded would change everything the Council thought they knew about humanity. The crew wasn't entirely human. Cybernetic implants, neural interfaces, organic brains merged with quantum computers. The humans had done something the elder races had considered taboo for millions of years. They had upgraded themselves. The Council species had reached a point of technological and biological stasis, content with what they were. Humanity had looked at their limitations and eliminated them. Thexnor received the data and finally understood. The elder races had been playing a game of inches for millennia, advancing slowly, carefully, according to ancient traditions and established science. Humans had taken 300 years in space and compressed 1,000,000 years of evolution into a single generation. They hadn't just built better ships. They had built better humans. All ships, Thexnor ordered, his energy form flickering with resignation. Retreat. Full withdrawal. But Admiral Stone had said they had one chance. That chance had passed. Human ships pursued the fleeing Council fleet like wolves chasing prey. They didn't destroy every ship. That would have been wasteful. Instead, they crippled them, leaving vessels dead in space, crews alive but helpless. The message was clear. This could have been worse. Thexnor's flagship was the last to fall. A human boarding party, soldiers in powered armor that made them look like mechanical demons, breached his bridge. They moved with perfect precision, disabling systems and securing the crew without killing anyone. Their leader removed her helmet. Commander Sarah Chun, the ambassador's daughter, now apparently a military operative. War Master, she said, her voice amplified by suit speakers. You're alive because Admiral Stone believes in mercy. The Council voted to cage us. They sent you to enforce that decision. But humanity doesn't accept cages. Thexnor's form pulsed weakly. Your victory here means nothing. The Council commands millions of ships across 1,000 sectors. This was merely one fleet. I know, Sarah replied. That's why we let some of you go, so you can deliver a message. Tell the Council that human space is closed to them. Tell them we will defend our territory with every weapon we possess. And tell them, she paused, her expression hardening. Tell them that if they come for us again, we won't show mercy. We'll show them what 300 years of desperation, innovation, and rage can accomplish. She turned to leave, then stopped. Oh, and War Master? Your fleet had 5,000 ships. We destroyed or disabled 3,000. The rest fled. In the old days, that would have taken months of fighting. We did it in 4 hours. Think about that when you explain this to the Council. The boarding party withdrew, leaving the bridge crew alive but surrounded by disabled systems. As Sarah's ship departed, Thexnor floated in the darkness, contemplating the impossible truth. The Council had declared humanity unwelcome. In response, humanity had declared themselves apex, and they had the weapons to back it up. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was chaos. 200 species screaming in 100 languages, their translation matrices overloading from the sheer volume of outrage, fear, and accusation. 3,000 ships destroyed, 15,000 crew members captured. The greatest military defeat in recorded galactic history, and it had taken less than a day. Archon Vexthal stood at the chamber's center, his crystalline body fractured from stress. Around him, the elder races demanded answers he couldn't provide. They were supposed to be primitive, shrieked a Virwanan commander, her liquid metal form roiling with anger. You said they were contained. They were, Vexthal replied, his voice carrying the weight of failure. 3 months ago, they possessed 300 warships. Now they field tens of thousands. The mathematics is impossible. Clearly not impossible, rumbled a Turthan elder, his stone body bearing cracks from age. They accomplished it. The question is how. Dr. Kelshon, a Zafrani scientist who had warned against restricting humanity, floated forward. His jellyfish-like body pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that translated as deep concern. If the Council permits, I may have an explanation. He activated a holographic display showing human neural scans. We've analyzed the data from captured human soldiers. What we found is disturbing. They've integrated cybernetic technology directly into their neural tissue. Not external augmentation, complete fusion of organic and digital systems. Murmurs of horror rippled through the chamber. Cybernetic integration was banned by council law, considered dangerous and unnatural. They've turned themselves into living computers, Kelshawn continued. Their reaction times are enhanced by quantum processors. Their coordination is managed by shared neural networks. They don't communicate during battle, they operate as a distributed consciousness. It's brilliant and terrifying in equal measure. Abomination, hissed the VR1. They've violated the natural law covenant. A covenant they never signed, Kelshawn pointed out, because we refused them full council membership. We wanted them restricted and controlled, so they evolved beyond our control. Vexthal tried to restore order, but the chamber was fracturing. Species were choosing sides. The Turthen and VRYNN wanted immediate retaliation, a fleet 10 times larger to crush humanity's rebellion. The Zephrani and several smaller species advocated negotiation. Others proposed complete isolation, abandoning all space near human territory. Then a new voice entered the debate. Honorable Council, said Ambassador Sarah Chun, appearing via holographic projection. She looked different, harder, colder. The diplomat who had stood before them 3 months ago was gone. This was something else. I bring a message from Admiral Stone and the United Terran Command. You dare address this body after your acts of war? Vexthal demanded. We responded to your acts of war, Sarah corrected. You declared us unwelcome. You tried to cage us. You sent a fleet to force us into submission. We defended ourselves. Under galactic law that you wrote, that's our right. You destroyed 3,000 ships. We disabled them, Sarah emphasized. 97% of your crews survived. We returned them to you with medical care and supplies. If we had wanted genocide, War Master Thexnor's entire fleet would be corpses floating in the void. Remember that distinction. The chamber fell silent. The threat beneath her words was crystal clear. What does humanity want? Asked Kelshawn softly. Sarah's expression softened slightly when looking at the Zephrani. What we've always wanted. To be left alone to grow, explore, and exist without ancient species deciding our fate. You have your territories. We want ours. And how much territory does humanity claim? Vexthal asked carefully. Sarah pulled up a star map. A sphere of space appeared, colored in blue 200 light-years in diameter, encompassing thousands of star systems. The chamber erupted again. That volume contained resources worth quintillions in galactic currency. Hundreds of habitable worlds. Strategic positions near major trade routes. Unacceptable, declared a Caldrith admiral. That space includes systems we have surveyed. But not settled, Sarah countered. Not colonized. Not actively used. Just surveyed and claimed on maps millions of years old. We're offering you a choice. Recognize human space, establish borders, and we can coexist peacefully. We'll even open trade negotiations. And if we refuse? Vexthal asked, though he already knew the answer. Then we take it anyway and you try to stop us. Again. Sarah leaned forward. Think carefully about what happened to Thexnor's fleet. Think about the fact that we've been in space for only 3 centuries and we've already matched your military technology. Now imagine what we'll accomplish in the next century. The next millennium. Do you really want humanity as an enemy? The chamber fell into silence. Every species was calculating the same terrible equation. Fight now and possibly lose. Negotiate now and admit humanity was their equal. Wait and risk facing something even worse. The council will deliberate, Vexthal finally said. You have 1 week, Sarah replied. After that, we begin colonizing our claimed space, with or without your permission. The transmission ended, leaving 200 species to contemplate an impossible reality. The age of unchallenged elder dominance was over. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. The vote took 6 days of heated debate, political maneuvering, and barely avoided violence. In the end, the Galactic Council split for the first time in recorded history. 120 species voted to recognize human territorial claims and establish formal borders. 60 species, led by the VRYNN and Turthen, voted to continue the conflict. 20 species abstained, waiting to see which side would prevail. It was not the overwhelming rejection humanity had expected, but it was enough. The Treaty of Centrum Prime was signed in the same chamber where humanity had been declared unwelcome. This time, Admiral Stone stood beside Ambassador Chun, and the delegation included representatives from every human colony. The Council recognizes the United Terran sovereignty, Archon Vexthal announced, his voice carrying resignation and something that might have been respect. Human territory is established as all space within 100 light-years of Sol system, with expansion rights to be negotiated annually. It was half of what humanity claimed, but Stone had expected that. Negotiation meant starting high. Additionally, Vexthal continued, humanity is granted provisional council membership with full voting rights on matters concerning human space and advisory status on galactic issues. Sarah nodded. It was a compromise. Not full membership, but no longer exclusion. But not everyone was satisfied. As the ceremony concluded, a VRYNN battle group, 50 ships that had refused the treaty, appeared at the edge of human space near the colony of New Harmony. Their commander, Admiral Sythrax, broadcast a message to all council worlds. The elder races bow to primates who have barely learned to walk among stars. This is surrender disguised as diplomacy. The VRYNN collective does not accept human territory. We do not recognize their sovereignty. And we will demonstrate what happens to species who challenge the natural order. The VRYNN fleet entered New Harmony's system with weapons hot, ready to make an example of the colony's 5 million inhabitants. They never fired a shot. Human ships appeared not from faster-than-light jumps, but from inside the system itself. They had been there all along, running silent, invisible to conventional sensors. Stealth technology that made vessels vanish completely, another innovation the Council didn't know humanity possessed. The VRYNN fleet found itself surrounded by 300 human warships, weapons locked, ready to fire. Admiral Stone's voice cut through the tension. Admiral Sythrax, you have entered sovereign human territory with hostile intent. You have 10 seconds to withdraw or be destroyed. Choose. Sythrax hesitated. The VRYNN were proud, ancient, and accustomed to dominance. Backing down before a species barely older than their youngest cadets was unthinkable. But the alternative was death. You think this changes anything? Sythrax hissed. You won a single battle against an unprepared fleet. The elder races have resources you cannot imagine. Fleets numbering millions. Technologies developed over epochs. You are insects celebrating victory over a single bird, unaware of the forest around you. Maybe, Stone acknowledged, but this insect has teeth and claws, and we're done being prey. Now leave or discover exactly how dangerous we can be. The VRYNN fleet withdrew, but not before Sythrax sent one final message. This isn't over, human. The galaxy is vast and old and full of dangers you cannot comprehend. Your pride will be your extinction. The confrontation was broadcast across the galaxy, becoming the defining moment of the new era. Humanity had stared down elder species and made them blink. But Stone didn't celebrate. In his quarters aboard the flagship Indomitable, he met privately with his senior staff. Sythrax was right, he told them. We won because they underestimated us, because they were arrogant and unprepared. That advantage is gone now. Every species in the galaxy is watching us, studying us, learning our tactics. So what do we do? Asked Commander Chun, who had proven herself equally capable as diplomat and warrior. We evolve faster than they can adapt, Stone replied. We've bought ourselves breathing room, maybe a generation, maybe less. We use that time to become so advanced, so powerful, so integrated into the galactic community that going to war with humanity becomes unthinkable. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, who had overseen the cybernetic integration program, nodded. The next phase is already underway. Neural enhancement, genetic optimization, quantum consciousness expansion. In 50 years, we'll be as far beyond our current selves as we are beyond our ancient ancestors. And if the elder races try to stop us again? Asked General Okonkwo. Stone's expression was grim. Then we demonstrate that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our tactics. It's our refusal to accept limitations. They tried to cage us once. If they try again, we'll burn down the entire galactic order and build something new from the ashes. Outside the flagship's windows, human space stretched across 100 light-years. Dozens of worlds, billions of people, all protected by the fleet that had once been considered primitive. The age of human ascension had begun. The elder races could accept it or resist it, but they could no longer stop it. Humanity was no longer the newcomer species begging for acceptance. They were a power in their own right, and the galaxy would have to adapt to them. The only question was how much blood would be spilled before everyone accepted the new reality. 20 years after the Treaty of Centrum Prime, the galaxy had transformed. Human space now extended across 200 light-years, exactly as originally claimed. 63 species had established formal diplomatic relations with the United Terran Sovereignty. Trade between human worlds and council space had become the galaxy's economic backbone. Human technology, particularly in AI, cybernetics, and quantum computing, was the most sought-after commodity in civilized space. But in the shadows, the VRYNN Collective and their allies had been planning. Admiral SYTHRAX had not forgotten his humiliation. For 2 decades, he had assembled a coalition of species who refused to accept humanity's rise. The VRYNN, Turthan, Kaldrith, and 30 other races had secretly built a fleet numbering 50,000 ships. 10 times larger than the force that had attacked Thexnor. They called it the Purge Fleet, and its purpose was singular, the complete annihilation of humanity. The attack began simultaneously across 20 human worlds. Overwhelming force designed to shatter human defenses before they could respond. It should have worked. The mathematics of warfare said it had to work. But humanity had spent 20 years preparing for this exact scenario. The moment the Purge Fleet entered human space, every human ship, station, and planet activated Protocol Apex, the ultimate expression of human military doctrine. Across 200 light-years, human consciousness linked into a single distributed intelligence. Every enhanced human, nearly 2 billion soldiers, pilots, and strategists, merged their neural networks into a quantum-coordinated war machine. Individual humans still existed, still made choices, but they operated with the coordination of a single organism. The effect was devastating. Purge Fleet ships found themselves facing an enemy that predicted their movements before they made them. Human vessels appeared where ambushes were planned before the orders were given. Weapons fire from thousands of human ships concentrated on single targets with microsecond precision. The VRYNN's carefully planned strategy collapsed within minutes. Admiral SYTHRAX watched from his flagship Eternal Dominion as his fleet disintegrated. How? How are they everywhere at once? His tactical officer had no answer. Human ships were simply faster, smarter, and more coordinated than anything the Purge Fleet could deploy. It wasn't technology, the ships themselves were roughly equivalent. It was the beings operating them. Humanity had transcended. On the bridge of the indomitable Admiral Stone, now 70 but enhanced to the point where age was merely cosmetic, coordinated the defense. His consciousness touched millions of other minds, all working in concert. He could feel the battle across light-years, sense the Purge Fleet's formations, anticipate their strategies. "They're breaking," reported Commander Chun. Her own mind linked to 300 ship commanders simultaneously, requesting permission to pursue. "Negative," Stone ordered. "Let them retreat. We've made our point. Sir, with respect, these species attack.